in Australian boxing, why aren't we sending so many to the Olympics now? But from your day to this day, where have we gone wrong? I know you've had a lot to do with Queensland boxing.
Oh, that's a very hard question. Probably, I think we're probably sending too many to the Olympics, and I know some coaches will arc up on that. But the point is, there's no point going over there if you haven't got a chance.
Yeah, true.
And the point is, what a lot of our boxers have got to do, we've got to fight a lot more and in a lot more competitive environment. Now, whether that environment's in the ring in a fight proper or it's in top-line sparring, it's got to be either or. You've got to have that, and then you're at that level. And sometimes when you're fighting in a top-line level, it's not that hard, some of the fights you have. Sometimes it's a class, it's a different standard, it's a different realm. But I just think Australians have got to, somebody's got to get on to the Pacific Islands and start having more of a competition.
The Oceania Games, you mean?
Having more of that. And I mean, I was at the Pacific Games last year. I've been there the last few years, and there's some terrific fighters come out of there. I mean, you think of some of the great fighters, and I know some of your listeners will remember back to TV Ringside, and Fredo Chuardi and Manny Santos and Kahuma Hunger, and I mean, all those great El Coravu. I mean, fabulous boxers. And they're still there.
Yeah.
I mean, we in Queensland, I'm saddened, and one of the great. If I had one more thing that I could do in boxing, would be to get what they're called a boxing league, and they're based in North Queensland. If I could get them back on board with Queensland boxing, and everybody work together run north against south and have more competition. Boy, oh boy, Queensland could dominate boxing because there's been some terrific rugby league players come out of North Queensland. I can tell you, there are pretty good fighters from up there as well.
Yeah, mate, I'm hearing you. So, wouldn't it be great if the ABA and the league joined together? That's what we want, isn't it, Ben?
And it's not hard.
It's not hard, is it?
It's not hard. It's put their egos aside.
You said
it's the coaches. It's the coaches. It's not the athlete.
No.
An athlete will just do as he's told.
No, they don't know
if they're fighting.
They don't know if they're fighting in the league of the ABA. I didn't know.
Exactly. I mean, it's the coaches. They all think that, he's going to be the next Jeff Pennick. Well, he's not going to be the next Jeff Pennick because you want to turn him pro.
Yeah, well, you hit it on the head when you said that word that starts with egos, mate. It's everywhere, isn't it? And it's mainly the guys that have never jumped in there, isn't it?
Well, I look at. You asked me before. Probably the greatest fighter that I've in Australia. There's no argument. Anybody that says it's not Tony Madigan, they don't know their sport. He is the greatest by far. By far.
Okay, now I've got a question for you about Tony Madigan. Now, he got inducted in the Australian Boxing Hall of Fame. Is he the only amateur boxer? Can anybody out there answer that?
Well, I don't know. I think he is, and if he is, that's a disgrace. Because
there should be more. Well, what about you, Benny? I mean, geez. Mate, I asked you a question before. How many Olympics and Commonwealth Games did you go to representing?
2 Commonwealth, 1 Olympics.
Wow. That's
It's
unbelievable.
The World Cups, the World Championships. And,
you win in all them World Cups, you win in all them with Benny Pike, I read here.
Well, when we first went to Oceania Games back in the early 70s, I mean, it was just fantastic. It was just... the crowds and the Fijians and the Numians and wow, could they fight? and the place loved it. It was just wonderful sportsmanship, and you get in there and do your best. And if you got beat, well, that's the way it goes. And you'd shake his hand, and it was terrific. And it's all there, Paul. It's not hard.
Back to Tony Madigan, I think he's...
I'm sorry, Tony Madigan.
I was listening, but...
Tony Madigan fought...
I'm just wondering if he's the only Aussie amateur that got inducted.
I think he is.
Why isn't there more?
Well, that's right. I mean, you've got to think of... I mean, it's not about winning gold medals or I mean, that helps.
It helps. It's your performances.
If you fought in a longevity in a sport, and you fought at that higher level at such a fair term we're talking boxing now. We're not talking ballet. We're talking boxing. and when you fight over a period of time, that alone is a tick in the box. Mm-hmm. We're talking amateur boxing. You don't say he's a great fighter because he went on to turn pro and win the world title. That's not what the question is. It's who's the best amateur.
Yeah, well, amateur and pro is two different.
They're two different things.
Two
so
different
you judge
things.
them on that criteria, and he certainly Madigan is by far. I mean, 2-3 Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, gold medals, and look, he probably could have fought more, but he didn't have that variety that the amateur boxers now enjoy having. And when we first went to the King's Cup and those sort of tournaments in the 70s, let me tell you, Paul, you turn up at Bangkok or you turn up in Jakarta or somewhere, I'm not joking, there'd be the Olympic champion, there'd be the world champion, there'd be the European champion, there'd be they just cut, it was fantastic.
Yeah. You got some stories out of them King's Cup? Any stories you can share with us? Or?
Not on air.
Not on air? Well, I asked Brian Tink for a few quotes and he said you won't be able to put it on air if I told you a few stories.
well the thing about the King's Cup, I mean, I'll give you an example. We had the Ugandan team, the great Ugandan team that had, John Mugabe and those guys, in that team. They came to a tournament at the King's Cup once, and one of their guys got beaten in an enormously bad decision. Yeah. And the next day, we're looking around, there's no Ugandans. And there was a referee judge who was a Ugandan, and we said, "Where's your teammates?" He said, "They're gone."
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean they're gone?" He said, "Oh, Big Daddy, send them plane, they're gone." They just put back the thing that they were robbed in the decision.
Yeah.
And Idi Amin flew the plane in, flew them home.
Took them home, God.
Took them home.
Yeah, jeez. I'd believe that.
That's true.
Yeah. What's been the funniest moment in your boxing career, Ben? Any humorous moments?
Oh, look. Well, look, what happens on tour stays on tour, but, some of the trips. I mean, Brian Tink was an outstandingly funny man, and he always kept the teams on their toes in many ways. I mean, great fellow, and there are. I mean, that's what.
Now, there's a boxer that could have been inducted as an amateur boxer into the Hall of Fame. What do you think? Brian
Tink, yeah. Well,
yeah.
but it all depends on the criteria that they have, and if you're just going on medals, well, Madigan certainly, but then you've got to come back to the next level, and I think probably Graham Cheney is probably the next there with a silver and a bronze, and I think on McElwain, and you've got to put it on. They'll be looking at that level, but to me, I think that there's the opportunity to sort of give a round of applause to somebody that's longevity and represented what amateur sport is all about.
Yeah, well, Brian Tink there, 399 wins, fought in every World Cup game you could think of, and I know what it's why don't they look at guys like this, but for a Hall of Fame induction, but
Well, I think one of the nicest things about amateur boxing, all boxing, but the thing that I've noticed is the humility of what a lot of the boxers do have. And I mean, the majority are. They're good community citizens. I know when the Olympic Games in Queensland used to have fundraising opportunities, and I do remember a group, they used to take a train. They used to go from Brisbane up to Cairns, stopping at all the different venues and have fundraisers as Olympic Games fundraising. And the first bloke to put his hand up every time to be on that train was a guy called Fearless Brett Casey, who fought as an Australian heavyweight, but also Olympic Games in Mexico. He had John Bukowski with him. He was another Olympian. You had Wally and Ollie Taylor, who both come from Mackay, and they were the stars of those trips. Yeah. Because they were funny. They were the first to get there. They were the last to leave. They just were genuine blokes that wanted to help raise money for sport, not boxing, for the sport, for the Olympic Games.
Wow. You've been a commentator for both Commonwealth Games and Olympic boxing, or just a Commonwealth?
No, I've done them all.
Yeah, you've done them all.
Had the pleasure of working with what all started in probably '86.
What a buzz that'd be, Ben, being an Olympian and then coming back and commentating. That would have been a buzz, mate, really.
Well, it was.
I bet it was.
It was been a great pleasure of, calling the boxing Klitschko and Felix Savon and of course Oscar De La Hoya and just all those boxers that won a medal that I could never forget. We were in Atlanta in 1996, and I know the great Barry Michael was there as well. He was commentating with Channel 7, and I stayed with radio because it was a lot of fun. And I got a better head for radio anyway. So
that's both of us, mate. You and me.
And the Americans have only got one fighter left in the final. One fighter.
Yeah.
And his name was David Reed, and he was fighting a Cuban, and lucky boy. And he was fighting a Cuban, and the place was. They were just waiting. You could see the crowd were just booming, waiting for the American to make it into the ring. And just before the fight started, we were up in the stands and, on the microphone, like we're getting ready to call the fight.
Yeah.
And the next minute, the lights went on, the lights went off, the lights went on, the lights went off. And my mate, George Grigozic, the greatest commentator I've ever worked with, said, "What's going on?" I said, I don't know. How would I know? I don't know. And the next minute, this voice came on in this massive hall, and it just, ladies and gentlemen, floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee, ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
There he is, standing there. How they got him in there, I'll never know.
That's great.
He's there, and the roof nearly lifted off.
Yeah, wow.
The roof nearly lifted off, It's just fantastic, and David won. He got a bit of a touch-up, but he got knocked him out in the third round, but it was a great fight, and but Ali was just ballistic.
That would have been a buzz. Now, you've also caught some other unusual sports at the Games too. Your sideman, John Harker, was telling me, was it handball or something you've caught as well? What was that, besides boxing?
I had the pleasure of being, and John does a great job too, may I add. Does a great job at boxing. I had the pleasure of not working with George because he was my main guy, but I had the pleasure and worked with Tim Lane, who's an outstanding commentator, and we had the opportunity of calling the first ever triathlon at the Olympic Games in Sydney in 2000, and that was terrific. We didn't win a gold medal; we got a silver.
Yeah.
Keely Jones got the silver medal, but although the boy who won the gold medal, Simon Whitfield, a Canadian, actually his mother was an Australian. So we could have claimed half of him, but anyway. But it's great. Look, it's great to be involved. I mean, I think in you caught me off guard. 2002, I did the triathlons there as well, and